historian and Rogers Chair in the American Presidency at the Vanderbilt University, Jon Meacham. Jon, great to see you, my friend. You just launched a new limited-run podcast titled Fate of Fact, which you say examines how and why conservative Americans, many of them, have become prone to disinformation and to anti-democratic narratives. So dive in a little on that, Jon, and how it may relate to what we saw with Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, we're in this flight from fact. The world for the last 5 years on the right in particular has been a reality show that, of course, the tragedy was that it's actually all of our reality. And I think what we're seeing is not a 5-year drama, but more like a 60 or 70-year drama that many folks on the right, and these are the people who probably would not have signed up with Donald Trump on the day of the escalator, but who made their peace and are now very much with him. You have a sense, and you see it, you were just talking about with the chairman, you see the sense of grievance, of victimhood, that on the right, they believe that the culture, politics, the economy, everything's arrayed against them. And so the drama is, the motivating story is to take America back. Well, that presupposes, right, that it has been taken away from them. And so one of the things that has fascinated me now for 5 years is why have so many seemingly rational folks stepped into a wilderness of mirrors, to borrow a phrase from the Cold War, stepped into, as Giuliani promulgated, the big lie of the stolen election, stepped into a universe that's dissociated from the self-evident reality around us. And you can disagree with what the left wants to do. You can disagree with what the Democratic Party wants to do. That's fine. That's America. But it's not true that there is a parallel dissociation on the left. This is an ambient reality on the right. And my sense is this goes back really to the end of World War II. You have a sense, a lot of conservatives believe that FDR stabbed us in the back at Yalta, that he sold out to Stalin. You have, from Eisenhower through George W. Bush, you had a series of Republican presidents who ran talking one way, but then ultimately governed more or less from the center right. And so the Warren Court, you know, the Brown versus Board education, the Miranda decision, the school prayer decision in the 50s and early 60s, that was a court whose Chief Justice was appointed by the first Republican president in 20 years. Eisenhower. Richard Nixon ran one way, right? And yet creates the EPA, proposes a guaranteed income, proposes a health care plan to the left of where Obama was, and goes to China. And then President Reagan, whom you've been talking about, federal spending rose under Ronald Reagan. So did deficits. He never made a serious effort to pass a pro-life amendment to the Constitution, to pass a school prayer amendment to the Constitution. And if you ask George W. Bush, he would tell you that there's a line between TARP, the bailing out of Wall Street in 2008, and Trump. And so I just want to take a step back and look at why is it that so many folks who would have been Reagan, Romney, McCain Republicans, why have they taken this turn into disinformation? And I think part of it is they feel that even the establishment at some level did not deliver for them. And we got to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Jon, there's always been suspicion of government, suspicion of media, suspicion of elites. We've all lived that and experienced that. But there was something else that happened with Donald Trump, which you get at in this podcast. We've talked about this. We've got friends, people I know and respect and are smart people who, around the election were sending me stories about an Italian internet company that changed votes and voting machines, and they wanted to believe so much of this. So what is your sense of why rational people so went along for the ride on the big lie?
I think that you always seek out information that affirms what you already believe, right? And that's kind of a natural human impulse. One of the great things about America, and one of the great things about the Enlightenment, actually, was that we were supposed to have the capacity to resist that. We were supposed to actually follow reason, even if we didn't agree with it. I think that there's something appealing about narratives that suggest, and this is a point really made best by Richard Hofstadter at Columbia in the fall of 1964. It's comforting to believe that there is a conspiracy out there. It's comforting to think that there are unseen forces arrayed against you, because it lifts your own role in the world, right? You're not just losing an election. You are a victim of Ukrainian machines and all that stuff that Giuliani and all those folks were out there telling us in the parking lot of the store. There's something, I can't remember what it was. The Four Seasons, that's right.
Four Seasons landscape. How could we forget?
That's it. That's it. That's it. So the Four Seasons landscaping, to some extent, is a modern day Yalta, right? It's this place. It's this place where something happened, right? Or what was it, Dominion in the Ukrainians, and everybody's changing everything. And so it's this inherently interesting and elevating story, because suddenly you're battling for your very existence.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.